am live. I'm continuing the awakening letters, varieties of spiritual experiences in the life after death. This was a book compiled by Cynthia Lady Sandys and Rosamond Lehman. Lady Sandys got messages from their daughters, Sally and Patricia. They both died young and in tragic circumstances. And these letters are describing the life after death. Quite a few of them are from Sandy's brother, Sir Alvary Gascoigne, who's also called Joe. I'm here in part 5 of this book, and this one is called Joe's Journey into Space Alone. Synth, I'm waiting to tell you about the etheric belt. This is exciting. I told you we used the rips from the soil cultivation, but that a tiny percentage was of a different VIB, VIB. It seemed to come from the very soul of the earth. It came to us as a gentle questing breath from another world, passing through the soil and the people working on it, and going on into infinity. What was this new VIB? What was it searching for? Everest? Chartres? No, that was not its goal. I refrained from going further until I was given the directive to draw the VIB into my aura and to transport it into the upper ether, the stratosphere. I had been into this region before, with Douglas and Pat, but never alone. I called for help, but I was told to go it alone. This I found difficult. It was so hard to leave the gravitational pull of Earth. I had asked for the power of Everest and Chartres, the gravitational pull of Earth, until I reached the orbital circles. Was this far enough? For the moment, yes. But I must go further. This orbital circle was a resting station. It was calm and quiet and completely harmonious. I felt I wanted to stay there indefinitely, but the vibrations I was bearing in my aura from Earth were pricking me to go on. Around me was a sensitive belt of color. I was breathing this into my finer body and asking to be led through it to a finer belt of vibration where I could unload my earth ribs and go home. But for a time I was held in the balance, not knowing what to do, and alone in space. Fear, as we used to know it, had completely left me, but the longing for the now familiar way of life was pressing me to end this mission. Suddenly, into my aloneness came a voice telling me that the next stage of my journey was not through space, but into space. I had to accept the inner calm and search within for a further layer of thinking that would satisfy the earth ribs and allow them to find their own level. So speaking to the earth rib as though it were my child, I said, "Where shall we go? What are you seeking?" And the unexpected reply was, "Forgiveness." The ray of complete union with our Mother Spirit. This was beyond me until I realized that I was entering a calm such as I had never known. It was a calm in action. It was a sense of having reached or perhaps touched for a moment the very axle of life, or some pivot through which was passing a new vital flow of absolute stillness. It was uncanny, and I feared to lose this super harmony by some slip of my thought. So I prayed to the spirit of Everest, the radiant figure I had seen twice before, and the reply came, "You must evoke this sense out of your inner being. Your greater self will be your guide." Hitherto I had been shown and felt all things coming from outside myself. Now I was entirely at the mercy of my inner senses, such as I may have acquired. Dazed and stupid, I waited, while the earth vibrations were tapping on the walls of my thought, like a chicken in the egg, helping me to break out of my insularity and force myself to become united with a greater me on another level of existence, for what seemed like an endless span of quiescent waiting, for constantly losing and recovering the line of thought. Then, quite suddenly, the pricking sensation ceased, and I was alone with an enlarged sense of space around me, with a feeling that I and the space were one. I was outside my hitherto etheric body. I had no further need of it. I was above and within. I had ceased to be held by the earth vibration. I was free of earth and had become a spaceman. This has not been expressed at all well, but it may give an inkling of the vastness and the fragrance of these stages of becoming. In the autumn of 1973, Joe started his journey to India and the Far East. I first met Gandhi up in the mountains. I was taken to his ashram. He was sitting in prayer and sending thoughts into the minds of his closest followers, in very much the same way that I am doing this with you. I joined him and sat down to listen to his teaching. It was all very simple and quite sound. Then, when their physical bodies moved away, he turned to me, with such a charming, smiling face. He saw all that I was and had been in 1 second. He bowed and said in a sad voice, "We have all made many mistakes, and we always think that our own are the greatest. But in the eyes of the all-seeing one, we are all still ignorant, erring children. Now let us put the past away and work together." I nodded. "You're a practical Englishman, and you see the physical needs of our people. I'm a mystic who can see a little into the minds of men and of the greater spirits, and can, with your help, pass wisdom into these suffering masses. Now let us be practical. When the belly is filled, the mind is free to expand. But when the belly is empty, there is but one thought: food, until the body shakes off the sense of hunger. This is a very wonderful moment, but often the body generally falls away. Death occurs, and we are left to rescue and re-educate the spirit. But we have lost the opportunity to insert teaching into the bodily brain. So I'm going to ask you to stand with me when I insert my teaching, and you will, by your strong physical link, hold the physical and the spirit bodies together." I nodded in complete ignorance, and away we went into the hunger areas and found ourselves again in an ashram, where an old priest was slowly dying of hunger. Gandhi began speaking to his spirit body, calming him, showing him visions of goodness, knows what, until he became so charmed and happy, and would have floated out onto the next plane if I had not held tightly onto the cord which connects the bodies and kept him on the earth plane. After a few moments, Gandhi relaxed, and so did I. And to my surprise, on looking down at our old priest, who had been just a shriveled husk of humanity, I saw a sleeping man, quite well nourished and in perfect health. I looked at Gandhi in amazement. He laughed and said, "That is what we can do together, but we must unite." That was my first experience. Since then, I have been through many more. Douglas often joins us, and then he takes the part of Gandhi while I hold the physical, and the essence of life is poured back into the empty physical body until it gains the power to live without food, just as Douglas did in the early life in France. Well, now I've spilled my beans and told you what I'm doing. Lorne, my dear, I wonder if you'd give me a few thoughts on this line. All your thoughts are very useful, and you love the Indians too. I call them all Indians. Pakistani is only a name, and all are suffering. I see now that we have an immense power over all the people we have governed. Curzon is as active as ever, and so is Kitchener. They've made up their quarrel and worked together, but of the two, Curzon is my man. I'm devoted to him. He is still so human and full of wit and fun. These really great men have established a link with India on this enduring plane for what seems like all time. Halifax told me that he knew this instinctively during life. He could feel that Curzon, with all his queer ways, was the forerunner of a great union between the East and the West. I'd like to go on with this tomorrow if you aren't bored. I find it utterly absorbing. Next letter. Since I'm sorry I wasn't clear about the way in which I was working with Gandhi, or of the case of Douglas in France. Now listen, we have or have had on the earth plane 3 bodies. The physical, which eats and sleeps and gets tired and is very tied up with the earth in every sense. Yet it has links with the 2 other bodies, the astral, which is part physical, part etheric. This body usually escapes and disappears a few days after death, for it is the linking body. You might call it the home of the subconscious. In the ordinary case of death, you find the person in the astral body is able to see and hear all that is going on around him on earth, but without any clear perception of the next phase, of the next plane. Directly the perception of the next plane touches him, the light of the spirit seems to burn up the astral, and the person gains knowledge and sight of the etheric plane and ceases to have any strong link with the physical. Now this is where death and all the separateness comes in. The great desire from those on the next plane is now to show you in the body, so that the transition need not be so drastic or complete. Here I am, talking easily with you and using a tiny part of my astral body, which has become etherealized, but it has kept a channel through which the energy, physical energy, can still flow. They feel this is vital now for the growth of the spirit in man. Man is searching wildly for new teaching. Here's the answer. So when I was working with Gandhi or Douglas, I was holding the astral cord, so that on waking, the old priest, in my first experience, found himself in a normal condition. He got up and continued his duties as a priest among the starving, dying people. But he no longer needed food or rest, and he carried a certain radiance in his body, which was not perceptible in daylight, and he possessed powers to calm and heal the tortured souls. I do not know how long he has, or any of them are able to hold this condition. I stop this here. This was published in 1979, and today is the 19th of May, 2026.